Welcome to episode number 4 of Inside the Books. I'm your host, Shafar Brown. On today's episode, we're going to talk about transitioning from a 9-to-5 to full-time entrepreneurship. So as a lot of you guys know, I had a successful career in the corporate world running call centers. A lot of Fortune 100 companies I had the pleasure of working with over the past 17, 18 years. But also while running those companies, we were able to start our 615 brand, which encompasses 615 Entertainment, 615 Home, 615 Auto Group, and 615 University. So a lot of people always ask the question, why was I still working a 9-to-5? But remember, like, you never want to just jump off the porch and try to do things too fast, because that's when you run that opportunity of hitting your head. So it's important to punch somebody else's clock till you put yourself in a position to punch your own. So that's basically, what I've been doing, over the course of these last 10 to 15 years. So now a lot of our business are starting to grow to the point where, I had to make a decision on what was going to be the next step. Originally, I planned on retiring next year, but we lost a key player from our property management team on the real estate side. But it was a good loss because this individual was able to apply what we taught him over the past year and a half and make an acquisition of a 6-unit property. And now he's starting his real estate portfolio and going out on his own. So versus hire somebody to replace him, I made the conscious decision to leave my day job October 1st and go full-fledged into being everything 615. And the reason why I waited so long, because remember, any business that you're doing, it's going to take time for the businesses to become profitable. So it was important for us to not have to take away from these businesses. So, me and my wife, we both worked the job full time for some years. Then about a year and a half ago, she was able to retire from her job and start being more involved in the day-to-day of a lot of the operations that we had going on. Then we also put some other people in place. And then I continued to punch somebody else's clock and work on our stuff on the side because I couldn't afford to hire myself. Because once again, if I just immediately left that job some years ago, then I would have had to take money out the businesses in order to live for day-to-day expenses. So at the infant stages of any business, you want to be able to put as much back into the business as you can so the businesses can continue to grow. So if we would have been taking money out of the businesses, we wouldn't have got to the point where we're at now in all the different multiple businesses that we have, because we took the very minimum out of each business. So if we make 10,000, we're putting 9,000 back into the business, and that helps those businesses continue to grow. So anybody out there who's still working that 9-to-5 job and you're having that entrepreneur bug, I want you to continue down that path of being an entrepreneur. But what I don't want you to do is just give up on that day job, because that day job is what's going to help fund everything else that you're doing. And you always want to beta test whatever it is. So if you're getting into the rental car industry, start off with one car and test it out. You get into real estate, test it out with 1 or 2 houses. Figure out what kind of investor do you want to be. You want to be a hands-off investor where you're paying a property management company to manage it for you, or you want to be a hands-on investor and get a little bit more. Or you can even be somebody who just invests from a point perspective. And when I say a point perspective, that's where you're getting tied in with some private lending and you have cash sitting available and you're just taking points off the loan and getting so much percent back in interest every month. So it'd be like 10 to 12% interest, and you got to lean on a property, and that's how you're earning your money. So there's multiple different ways to invest and start generating that passive income. You as a person got to figure out what's going to be the best course for you. But it all starts by having that foundation and that day job. Foundation and stability, 2 things that are very, very important. Foundation and stability. So you're creating that foundation and you're creating that stability for your family, because the decisions and the moves that you make, there's always going to be people around you watching what you're doing. So you want to make sure that you're making the right moves that people can look up to and kind of follow your blueprint. And the other thing is, once you go out and be your own boss, it's harder to get certain loans and things of that nature. So you want to make sure that you're putting the proper steps and processes in place to set yourself up for the win. So, one thing you want to do is make sure that you're not just showing a bunch of losses. None of us want to pay Uncle Sam, but you don't want to show a bunch of losses, because at the end of the day, if you want people to take your business seriously and you want to be able to get loans from SBA, loans from different banks, you need to show some profit. So it's okay to pay Uncle Sam so you can end up running your business like a business and not like a hobby, because once you don't have that 9 to 5, and now you need to get car loans, you might need to get a house loan, things of that nature, and you don't have the proper income shown on the business side, even if you have the right credit score, you'll end up getting denied. So it's important to make sure that you're setting yourself up for the win. And my advice would be to make any of those major purchases that you need for your everyday life before you transition out of your 9 to 5. But the flip side of it too, just depending on what kind of industry that you're in, you want to always look at like how much value are you bringing to that company, and how is that company valuing you? Because a lot of time you're putting your all into somebody else's brand, somebody else's company, and you might not even be getting properly compensated, and your voice might not be heard, might not even be being heard. So you want to make sure that you're in the right situation that's going to make you feel comfortable with what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. And if you're not happy and satisfied with what it is that you're doing, then you need to put together a plan that's going to get you out of that situation, but let that plan work itself. You got to be patient. And that's what I always tell people, be patient before you start making some of these transitions. So this was a brief episode, just giving you a little bit of input of what's transpired, what's going on. I hope you got some value out of it. I'll catch you on episode number 5.